Okay, my dudes, this is an exciting day and a very sad day at the same time because y'all know my favorite way to play fantasy football is going to be Dynasty Fantasy Football. And well, yes, of course, I am so excited to hop in our new Patreon Dynasty League. This is going to be our last Patreon Dynasty startup of 2021. Now, I promise you, we're going to get more leagues going next offseason. I promise you, there's going to be a chance for you to get in one of our Dynasty Flock Patreon leagues. Y'all know, I mean, this is literally our 21st Dynasty Flock Patreon league. And I think next offseason, we'll probably do something special. Depending on how much the Dynasty Flock grows throughout the year, I promise you I'll continue to get you Dynasty videos out throughout this upcoming season. So make sure if you play Dynasty, if you play in a keeper league, that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell next to the subscribe button, because I can tell you right now, we're not uploading daily. YouTube doesn't necessarily like a channel if it's not going to be uploading daily. So you don't know if you're even going to get to see our videos unless you go down there and unless you subscribe. So definitely make sure you do so. But yeah, guys, this is going to be sad. And let's go. Jayan out in the chat going to the UT game. My man, I hope you have a great time. We got Thomas out in the chat, Leonardo, Harrison, Highlight, and Aaron. Yeah, guys, this is going to be an exciting stream. We got the draft going in about 5 minutes. Really quick, let me send out a notification on Discord to let people know that we are live, because we have not gone live on this channel in a very long time. Y'all know we keep Dynasty, we keep 2021 redraft completely separate. I don't want to be jamming down your throats a 2021 redraft strategy or a Dynasty strategy if you're not playing in that league. So we have our Dynasty channel and our regular fantasy football channel. Maybe some of y'all are new to this Dynasty channel. Maybe we have some redraft players sneaking their way in here, guys. If you don't know what Dynasty fantasy football is, essentially, you draft one team, you have that team until the end of time, and with that team, you do the Dynasty rookie draft every offseason, so you actually get to play fantasy football throughout the offseason. It's my favorite way to play fantasy football, and it's not even close. Let me send this out right now. And guys, I apologize for not being able to continue the daily uploads on the Dynasty channel throughout the course of the season. Trust me, I wish that we could, but I am sure that y'all understand. I don't necessarily feel the need to explain myself that much, and that we have just so many redraft players out there playing redraft right now, looking for 2021 fantasy football content. And I promise you, if there were 27, 28 hours in a day, we would be getting out Dynasty videos every single day. But we are streaming every single night on our main fantasy football channel, Real Money 2021 drafts. So, of course, we're going to have to continue to do that. We're going to be streaming there every single night. We're going to continue to make videos over there every single day. On the Dynasty channel, I don't know exactly what we're going to do just yet. We're possibly going to go out and just, I want to say, maybe upload one video a week or 2 videos a week. It's going to depend on just how the overall season goes. If you're subscribed, if you have the bell next to the subscribe button hit, you're going to see exactly what we're doing. But let's go pull up this draft board, because obviously we have a lot of trades that have been done. I'll hide my little screen right now. That way y'all can actually see exactly what's happening. Okay, so if we go through, we are drafting at the 103 in this draft. So drafting at the 103 is going to be a little bit of a change for us, especially because this is the first time that I've actually traded up in a startup draft this season. We actually made a trade with Noah where we ended up moving up to the 106. And I think the reasoning that we did this is kind of sound. There are going to be 2 players that I think we can come away with here. And the price point wasn't absurd. I will say that in the majority of drafts, I am not one to advise trading up. But I think the price for us to move up from the 210 to the 106 here was very reasonable. And all we had to do was move back from the 403 to the 610. And we moved up from the 910 to the 810. So I don't necessarily recommend y'all to continue to go out and trade up in your own Dynasty drafts. But I mean, this was more so just, I got a good offer. I wanted to take it. We wanted to go through and try something a little new out for our last Dynasty football draft of this season. So it's sad that this is the last one, but might as well try something out, because we have done the same strategy. We've been trading back in these over and over and over again. And guys, you better believe this is a super flex tight end premium league as well. I mean, everybody knows that already that watches this channel. Everybody knows that's what we exclusively focus in on when we're talking Dynasty. If we're talking 2021 redraft, I think that there you actually want it to be a 1-quarterback league, but Dynasty Superflex makes it so much better. So we're going to get this draft started off in about 30 seconds. Now, let me check my phone just to make sure there are no more trades that I actually have to go through and process. But it looks like I think all the trades have been processed so far for this league. It looks like people are most likely done trading picks. So we're going to be live for the next hour with these picks. Of course, giving our live reaction, showing off some Dynasty fantasy football strategy. And yeah, let's start this draft as soon as we hit 3 p.m. Eastern, which should be very soon. And also, guys, if you want in a draft with us this upcoming season, it's not too late because we are drafting every single night on the main fantasy football channel. However, we're actually drafting 2021 redraft leagues, and more particularly 2021 best ball drafts, because that is the way that I can get in the most amount of leagues with all of y'all. So if you're wanting to get in a draft with me, the number one thing that you can actually do is go over to Underdog Fantasy. You can find a link in the description of this live stream. And if you sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you're actually getting a couple things. You're getting our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. You're getting our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. I mean, literally, those are hundreds of pages of information. I know y'all have all heard me say this by now. I know a lot of people watching this channel, they've actually already had those. But with those draft guides, you're going to be getting just an absurd amount of information for a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. Now we have Mahomes and Josh Allen going, which is a surprise to me. We're going to go with a Kyler Murray, considering this is a league where, I mean, it's Superflex. It's going to be a 12-team league. So let's get Kyler at the 103. But yeah, make sure you make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. And when you do just that, you are going to be getting $25 added to your account at the same time. So please take advantage. And now we are going to be going a little off the rails here. Honestly, I thought that we were possibly going to go with like a Kyler Murray and then another quarterback here at the 106. But now that we get Christian McCaffrey falling to us, we're going to take CMC at the 106. So this is going to change our strategy just slightly in that I think now we are going to be a little more willing to draft a quarterback when it gets down to the point where we're going to be in the third. So yeah, this is not exactly what I was planning on doing. But I think that when we get a Christian McCaffrey falling to us at the 106, we kind of have to take advantage. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert both going ahead of him. And now a big thing with CMC at the 106 is we have to understand that we are now putting ourselves in a position that we are building a win now team. We are building a team for 2021 because you don't take Christian McCaffrey to build for the long term. We know that while, yes, he's going to give us production that cannot be matched from anybody else this upcoming season. At the same time, with a Christian McCaffrey, this is someone that doesn't have the long runway where you can go, okay, we're drafting Christian McCaffrey here. We're going to have him for the next 5 seasons. I understand, guys, he is very young. He was drafted in 2017 at 20 years old. But still, I mean, the amount of touches that he has had on his body makes it to the point where we're like, okay, he's already on his second contract. He's had a ridiculous workload so far. I think Christian McCaffrey is 100% a win now asset. Now we have Kyler Murray for the long-term stability that we could find at the quarterback position. And I'll say one thing that I'm going to have to adjust to is, guys, I literally have been live streaming every single night on that main fantasy football channel. I have done maybe close to 200 drafts so far this year. And on Underdog Fantasy, where we're live streaming every single night, use promo code FLOCK, find the link in the description, get everything that comes with that. I mean, they actually have a 30-second timer. So with a 30-second timer, at first, it's a little overwhelming, but you learn to love it. I mean, at this point, like a 60-second timer in this draft, it's going to feel like it's going extremely slow. Now, I will say, considering this is a dynasty draft and there are long-term implications here, you can't do a 30-second timer in a dynasty draft. There are way too many different variables that you actually have to go through and look at. But yeah, we have Dalvin Cook going at the 109. I personally prefer Jonathan Taylor over Dalvin Cook, and honestly, it's not even that close for me. Taylor does go at the 110 to post Dillon. Yeah, I think that Jonathan Taylor selection was very strong. Of course, there are going to be a couple players that you could see with these next few picks. You could see Trevor Lawrence. You could see our guy, Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance, honestly, is kind of fine to take at this point. I mean, you still have Joe Burrow. There are a couple different quarterbacks in that range. And then if you're talking about receiver, there's every single receiver available. Keep in mind, this is also a tight end premium format. So I guess you could begin to look at a tight end here. Now, I want to kind of keep this under wraps on what we're going to be doing. And also, this is going to be a third round reversal, guys. So y'all see that, yeah, we don't have another pick to the third round. And also, it's not even that we have to wait until the third, but we have to go throughout this entire second. And then we go back to this side of the third round where we're going through the third here as well. Okay, so it looks like y'all cannot see this entire draft board. Let me push this over. Okay. So I think everybody can see the draft board now. Let me know if that's a much better view. I apologize for not having that done previously. And we have a donation coming out from Dami. My man, thank you so much. Says, saw your video today on the main channel about fading Derrick Henry at the 103 in a PPR format. What about Derrick Henry at the 103 in a standard redraft? If you're playing in a non-PPR format, Derrick Henry at the 103 is fantastic. I could even consider Derrick Henry at the 102 in a non-PPR. I mean, just a PPR changes so many things about that. So yeah, if you're playing in a non-PPR format, Derrick Henry's the guy you want. Now, Russell Wilson does go at the 112, so this kind of tells us what this league is going to be doing with quarterback value. A lot of drafts, you actually saw Russell Wilson falling to more so like the 205, 204. Now, you have Alvin Kamara at the 201. I feel like a hypocrite here because I drafted a veteran running back. I drafted a veteran running back on their second contract. I just perceive Christian McCaffrey to be in a completely different tier than what we have with the majority of other players. So while, yes, we did draft a veteran running back at the 106, I mean, those running backs in their second contracts, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you know that I'm not a massive fan of going out there and grabbing those guys. Now, Jefferson goes at the 202. Okay, so post Dillon actually has the 110, 203. Then he has double fourths, double fifths, double sevenths, and double tenths. So, yeah, I mean, essentially, he just traded away his third and sixth and moved to the fourth and the fifth. And then also picked up a 7th and 10th. So, Dillon, I have no idea how you were able to pull these trades off, but obviously that's like a cheat code. That is a cheat code. Fantastic job on that draft. And guys, also, if y'all have not gone down there and dropped a like on the video, dropped a like on the live stream for our last Dynasty startup draft of 2021, what are you doing? Do you not remember the good times when we were able to make Dynasty videos every single day? I promise you those times will be back after this season. During the offseason, we'll be right back here making those videos every day. Now, Joe Burrow goes at the 203. Najee Harris at the 204. I mean, Najee, whatever you want to say, he is a great value with this selection. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, and I'll be the first one to admit that Harris has a ton of red flags on his actual profile, but at the same time, we can acknowledge the fact that this is actually someone that is a great value at the 204, because the big thing that you have to look at with these running backs is actually the contract situation and how that's going to guarantee them long-term touches. And here, Najee Harris, he is essentially guaranteed a workload where he is probably going to get used as a 3-down running back, seeing 300 touches in his offense every single season for the next 5 years. I think that I would 100% have Najee Harris over a Dalvin Cook. I would have him over an Alvin Kamara. Y'all know my Dynasty rankings are up and available on Patreon. We have not updated those since the Travis Etienne or the J.K. Dobbins injury, mainly because I didn't want the people in this draft with us to be looking at my rankings and knowing exactly what we were going to do. But we're going to go through and definitely, at least by tomorrow, we'll have those Dynasty rankings updated. And you can already see on those Dynasty rankings, I actually have Najee Harris ranked ahead of both Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. I mean, I think that is just a fantastic value with what you're getting for the long term. Now, Antonio Gibson goes at the 206, another one of those 3-down running backs on their rookie contracts. So you really have to like Antonio Gibson here. I am really staring at like Trey Lance, and I'm going, you know what? Yeah, Trey Lance goes at the 207 by Girthquake. Girthquake, that's a fantastic selection. Let's go check out what Noah has done. If y'all don't know who Girthquake is, this is Noah in the live chat. And at the same time, he is the guy. I've said this a million times. I know 99% of y'all already know this. He made this beautiful sign behind us. He made this beautiful sign behind us. So, of course, we need to give him a massive, massive thank you. And getting your first player off the board at the 207 with Trey Lance, I mean, I am very jealous of that. I would not have traded the 210 if I was actually playing in a regular fantasy football league where, I mean, I was playing in a dynasty league with some random people I met online, because if that was the case, I would actually be confident that Trey Lance would have fallen to the 210. I knew that there was no chance that these drafters in here who had access to my rankings and can see that I actually have Trey Lance as an early second round pick. I mean, I knew there was no chance that they were going to allow us to get Lance at the 210. So that's a big reason in why I actually went through and traded that late second round pick, because one of our prime targets wouldn't have even been available. And now another thing that I need to go through and talk about just for 1 second is, since I've been drafting every single night 2021 redraft leagues, and we have probably done 200 redraft drafts over the past, just say, month, my brain is broken, guys. My brain is broken where I am pretty much just thinking redraft, 2021, 2021, 2021 every single day. So thinking Dynasty and switching over here is going to be a little harder. Like the last Dynasty startup draft we did, I believe was 2 weeks ago, the last Patreon startup draft we did. There, I think we actually made a couple of wrong decisions in overrating what we were actually getting from the veteran players, and that we have to remember that long-term value. So Kyle Pitts at the 209. Y'all know my opinion on Kyle Pitts at the 209. I'll say I'm a lot more willing to see Kyle Pitts get pushed up the draft board whenever we are playing in the tight end premium format, as well as after the Julio Jones trade. I mean, one thing I also can't ignore is y'all know I'm the first one to take a victory lap. Like if we call Trey Lance a great second round startup pick as soon as he gets drafted, and then he rises from like going in the 6th round of startup drafts to he's going in like the second or third consistently, I'm running victory laps on that. I mean, I'm coming out here saying, look at me, how smart I was. And on the complete opposite side of the coin, I have to own up. I have to admit the season hasn't happened yet, but if you listen to me, you probably are kind of pissed off. And we, of course, have to mention this because, this isn't a fluke seeing Kyle Pitts go here at the 209. And you're consistently seeing Kyle Pitts go at the end of the 2nd, the beginning of the 3rd in these tight end premium leagues. And let's remember, and I, of course, hate to admit this, but you actually used to be able to get Kyle Pitts in the 4th round of these Dynasty startup drafts. Even after he was drafted by Atlanta. And I came out and I saw him getting drafted in the 4th round ahead of TJ Hawkinson. And I screamed how much I hated it. I screamed that it was a horrendous draft pick. And now we are seeing him consistently climb to the end of the 2nd round. So if I'm going to, on one hand, want to try to run victory laps on calling the climb for a Trey Lance, on the other hand, I kind of sit here and go, okay, well, I'm also an idiot because I didn't know that Kyle Pitts was going to climb. I actually thought that he was overrated when he was going a lot later than this. And now he's going at this price. And I want to say that he is still overrated, but I've already beat that drum so much that we're just going to have to kind of wait until we see how the season plays out for Kyle Pitts. But I definitely need to give out that disclaimer that that call that I made, regardless of how it plays out during the season or not, as of now, it looks very stupid. Now you get some of these receivers finally going off. You get Tyreek Hill. Let's see where Gliz has gone so far in this draft. So they take Tyreek Hill here. So if we're looking at Gliz, they go Najee Harris, Darren Waller, Tyreek Hill. So they're building a win now team with Darren Waller and Darren Waller and Tyreek Hill. I don't necessarily think you can spin it any other way. Now you actually have Kelsey going at the 302, and this is very intriguing. So yes, this is a tight end premium format, but Derek started this draft off with Lawrence and Jefferson. So I honestly probably expected them to go a little more youth-centric here. I definitely didn't expect them to go that route. If I pull up what we are seeing right now in the draft, let's go through, and I don't know why I haven't showed y'all this in the best players available so far. Okay, so at running back, technically you have a Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry should never go here. I won't even consider Derrick Henry if he falls to the 310. I'll say that on the live stream right now. You have Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, Ezekiel Elliott, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Jones, Hopkins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Calvin Ridley, CeeDee Lamb, Austin Eckler, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, Terry McLaurin, Josh Jacobs, Jalen Hurts, David Montgomery, Aaron Rodgers. And my God, guys, this sleeper ADP, I know this is Dynasty ADP. If you're looking at drafting in like where we do every single night on Underdog Fantasy, that ADP is so sharp where really, I think what it probably is, to be completely honest, is a lot of these Dynasty drafts that are being done here with this ADP. Maybe it's a lot of mock drafts and such that people don't really know what they're doing. Whereas all those underdog drafts where I'm used to drafting every night since we've been doing it just at a ridiculous volume, everybody's 18 years old. They're all real money drafts. So that ADP set is so much better than what you have with this. Like, I'm probably going to be not following ADP that much at all here. And Marshall coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, I am starting a league for the first time and was wondering if a 3rd round reversal for a draft was a good idea. My man, I will say that we started doing a I think we first tried out doing a 3rd round reversal in a Patreon startup. I want to say maybe back in June. And since then, we've done it for every single draft. Since then, we've done it every draft. I think what it does is it doesn't change that much in terms of the overall build. Like the 101 still has a massive advantage. If you're drafting in a 3rd round reversal, the 101 is still great. But at the very least, it makes people that are drafting over here, it at least makes them feel like they're not completely cheated out. Because if you're drafting at like the 112 in a Dynasty startup draft and you see that Chapman here gets the 101, you're like, oh my God, that's just completely unfair. How am I supposed to go through and build around this? at least it gives them a sense of hope that they are not necessarily getting screwed at their draft position. It's definitely more fair. So regardless of if it has a massive impact on the rosters at the end, I have found that people are a lot more willing to go through and get excited about a draft if it is a third round reversal, because no matter where you're picking, you can spin it yourself that, oh, I like this pick, or, oh, I don't like this pick. I will say, even in the third round reversal, getting the 101, the 102, the 103, I think it still is probably an advantage, to be honest. Okay. So we have Lamb, Ridley, both going off the board. So now let's begin to look at where we are going to go with this next draft pick. Okay, so if we're talking quarterbacks here, you got Hurts, Rodgers, Stafford, Watson, Tannehill. I didn't know Tannehill was on the COVID list. When did this happen? 9 days? Okay, so yeah, that's not something we have to worry about. Zach Wilson. Yeah, this is a horrible ADP set. I don't know why the ADP is so bad here. Running back, we have Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Swift, Zeke, Jones, Eckler, Mixon, Jacobs, Montgomery, Robinson. I mean, R.I.P. our guy. R.I.P. Travis Etienne. Y'all know how many leagues I have Travis Etienne. I have a lot of I honestly was surprised to see how much J.K. Dobbins I had. Once we got the injury, I went through and of course I looked at my exposures and I was like, oh my God. Because as soon as the injury happened, I was like, okay, well, I'm very sorry for anybody who drafted J.K. Dobbins. This sucks for Dobbins himself. I feel really bad for him. But selfishly, for my own dynasty teams, for my own 2021 teams, I didn't think that I had that much J.K. Dobbins. I thought I was maybe about average with him. I was surprised to see how much J.K. Dobbins I had. It wasn't nearly as much as what I had with Travis Etienne, not nearly as much as what I actually had with Cam Akers, but it was still more than enough to kind of put me in a little pissy mood. Okay, so now let's go through and let's scroll down here. So at tight end, honestly, we're not considering Andrews. We're not considering Hawkinson at the 310. Probably shouldn't be saying this out loud, of course, just because we do have a few picks before ours. Okay, let's see what Swizzy does. Swizzy goes Jalen Hurts at the 308. Very intriguing. Very intriguing. Let me see where Swizzy's actually drafting. Okay, so they have Pitts, Jalen Hurts, Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams. So honestly, now that we're building a win now team, I think that we have maybe the easiest selection we could ever make. We're going to go with a Stephon Diggs here at the 310. I'm surprised to see Diggs fall this far to us. I understand that Diggs is that win now asset, and this could easily be my brain just getting thrown off and me not necessarily thinking through this enough. But I mean, the start of Kyler, McCaffrey, Diggs in a Dynasty Superflex League, I'm pretty excited about that. I am pretty excited. Okay, so now after this, at the 311. Okay, so we had Moogly says, I had 33% of my leagues with ETN. My man, I think I was actually right about that same number. I had more Cam Akers than I had Travis Etienne, but it's been a brutal preseason. I will say that, I mean, I have been profitable in Dynasty Fantasy Football at a high volume since 2014. I mean, literally every year that I've gone through and not just played in one league, because it's hard to be profitable every year if you're playing in one or two leagues. But as soon as you turn over to like a high volume player and you're playing in like 10, 11 leagues, that started for me in 2014. And I've been profitable every season since then. This year, I'm honestly ready to like throw in the white flag and so go, okay, if I can just break even, I'm going to be happy. With how many leagues I've lost Akers, Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins in before the season even starts. I mean, guys like Irv Smith. Y'all know I was high on Irv Smith as well. Like, I don't know what I did to the fantasy football gods. I will admit that I actually got very lucky with the injuries last year. And I think this is maybe balancing it out, because last year, I've talked about this before, but we were so profitable that I knew there was no way that we were actually going to be able to repeat that. I knew that, I mean, based on us in all our dynasty leagues, with however many we played in, only missing the playoffs in one league, and that was by one spot, I knew there was no way that we could continue to go through and do that. I acknowledge that I got really lucky last year in a few spots. I mean, I didn't have Christian McCaffrey anywhere last year, because a big thing in Dynasty last year, it's changed this season with Dynasty drafters getting a lot better. But last year, the year prior, I mean, pretty much it's been changing every single season. Dynasty players have been getting better every single season. And I will say right now, the Dynasty community is smarter than it has ever been. And it's not even remotely close. Like, if you were playing in Dynasty leagues like 3 years ago, you know how easy it was. Literally, you could go, and if you were playing in a Dynasty, especially back in like 2015, you could actually get your first round pick. If you had a first round pick that was up here near the very top, like if you had the 101, the 102, the 103, the 104 even, I swear to God, I know you're not going to believe me with this. I know for a fact you're not going to believe me, but I really hope there's someone that was out there playing in a lot of dynasty leagues back then. You could literally take your 102 in a startup and you could trade it for a second, a third startup round picks, which is obviously already absurd value, and a future first in some instances. It was absurd. And I will say the dynasty community has corrected for that, where this is like the first startup I have traded up in I don't know how long, maybe years and years and years. I mean, I never trade up in startup drafts. I think that the price here was okay to do it with. Now, so last year we were actually having Noah auto picks Henry Ruggs here. Noah, you have to, I'm going to text Noah real quick. I'm not going to pause the draft for him or anything because obviously I can't necessarily do that, but you need to let me know a player that is available right now and who you want instead. You have to let me know a player who you want instead, because obviously Henry Ruggs at the 403 in a real money dynasty draft, that's not going to fly. We got to fix that. Okay, I just texted Noah. So let's see what he says. As soon as he texts me that he knows who he wants, then we're going to go through. It has to be someone available. Like now Hawkinson's no longer available to you. I mean, that's kind of that's what you get for having to go on auto. Obviously, we have no idea why he has to go on auto, but I can't necessarily go through and then give him Hawkinson. Then all of a sudden, then we actually have, okay, so Noah texted back already. He says Andrew's internet was being stupid. Okay, so let's change this pick as fast as we can real quick. Okay, there we go. We changed that. But yeah, if he wanted Hawkinson, then all of a sudden I would have had to, it would have been way too much work. So we can change it to Andrews real quick for him. No harm, no foul. Now Derrick Henry goes at the 406. Let me see this. Mike says, was he in the queue? Yeah, guys, Henry Ruggs got drafted there because I'd imagine that he was in the queue for Noah. And Noah better be back around very soon, because you're actually looking at this as a spot where, I mean, I guess he doesn't have another pick till the 606. Okay, so now after this, you got Zeke at the 407. Okay, so I'll say this is about the range where I'm fine taking these veteran running backs. Like going back to the beginning of the draft, y'all saw that, I mean, whenever we had a Dalvin at the 109, I was sitting there going, you know what? We really don't like the value of a Dalvin Cook. I mean, I definitely prefer having the younger running back, someone like a Jonathan Taylor, someone like a Najee Harris. That's going to be a player that we can go out there, we can start for a very long time, not just this upcoming season. And if you want a veteran running back, I mean, the opportunity cost to get Ezekiel Elliott instead here at the 407, it is just significantly less than what you actually have with the Dalvin Cook at the 109. And obviously you prefer Dalvin Cook over Ezekiel Elliott in a vacuum with a price difference between these two running backs. And keep in mind, guys, you still have like an Aaron Jones available. Yeah, Aaron Jones goes here at the 408. You have an Austin Eckler available to you. So knowing that you could have actually gotten those players at the end of the fourth round, and you're not necessarily passing on these elite level quarterbacks, you're not passing on the running back that also is a bell cow guy that is going to be playing for a very long time in a Jonathan Taylor. That's why I think that usually these guys, I mean, it's more so redraft season. And I know that I am pretty much just being a hypocrite here because we have CMC at the 106 and this is veterans only. But yeah, that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Okay, so now at the 409, I'm assuming maybe like Jamar Chase is falling to a point. Do y'all remember in the hype of this rookie draft season, whenever I came out and I was making videos and I was sending out tweets and I was saying, if you could trade Jamar Chase right now for a CeeDee Lamb, you have to do that ASAP. I was calling Jamar Chase the most overrated player in our 2021 Dynasty rookie drafts. Outside of Kyle Pitts, we may have to take the L on. We'll see what the season does. But I mean, now Jamar Chase falling to a range where I think Jamar Chase is a fantastic value. I mean, I was laughing at people when they were taking like a Jamar Chase here over a Stephon Diggs, over a Ridley, over a CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous when they were automatically assuming that he was someone that needed to go at the beginning of the third round. But now that you're getting like a Jamar Chase in this range, perfectly fine price. I mean, if you're getting him almost 2 rounds after CeeDee Lamb, that's when we can consider him. Now, Chase does go at the 402. Let me move this down just slightly. Now, if we're going to be looking at this, another main difference that you actually have on Sleeper and Underdog, I mean, I would never consider drafting like a Josh Jacobs anywhere near this range in a Dynasty Superflex startup draft. And on Underdog Fantasy, where we're drafting every single night on the main channel, I mean, you're actually getting Josh Jacobs consistently like at the end of the 5th round, but it's a 1 quarterback league and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, it's either Josh Jacobs or Odell Beckham Jr. And you're going, okay, of course, I'll just take Josh Jacobs here. Thank you very much. But his price now in this range is honestly kind of ridiculous. So I want to monitor where we're actually going to get these injured guys going as well. Like a Travis Etienne, someone like a Cam Akers, you're going to see them sitting at the top of the draft board as best player availables according to ADP for quite a while. So I'd actually imagine that they maybe go a little earlier than where we're willing to take them, but I'm definitely going to at least be monitoring them. Okay, so now we're going to be back up at the 5-10, and then we're going to have 2 picks in the 6th round here. So our team is very thin so far. I mean, this is not something I feel comfortable with. Very rarely are we trading up. This is something I wanted to try out for our last Dynasty Startup Draft. Okay, so we have Allen Robinson at the 501. DJ Moore at the 502. Send this out. Caden says, yo, why couldn't I get in this draft? My man, Caden, I believe you've been like 3 drafts before. Almost every single person here is a new person in the draft. I mean, you've had maybe a few of these names getting in mock drafts before. Girthquake, I believe he is in multiple Dynasty Startup Drafts, but I promised Noah whenever he went through and he made the signs for the studio that he could definitely get in another one. So yeah, we had to make an exception for Noah to get in a second Dynasty Startup here. It's Noah, I would argue, there's maybe been nobody, maybe like 3 people that have done as much for the channel as Noah has done so far. He's spent so much of his time and energy making sure that we have this studio right here. So, of course, I have to make an exception. We have to go out there and we have to get him in the last Dynasty Startup Draft of the season. I'm sure that everybody would understand that. Now, DJ Moore at the 502. Sucks seeing DJ Moore go off the board. I mean, with DJ Moore's age, I was honestly going to be all over drafting him here at the end of the 5th round. I thought that we were penciling in DJ Moore. I was hoping that guys like Keenan Allen were going to go over him. I was hoping we were going to see some quarterbacks off the board beforehand. But now, I mean, seeing that we're not going to have access to DJ Moore, that is a little sad. Now, considering how bad this ADP list is, we're probably going to have to go through and start looking at these guys right now on who we can potentially bring in with our next pick. So running back. Okay, so I know, just double checking here to make sure I'm not missing anything. There's a player that I thought we would want, but I don't even see him available. Like, did he go in this draft? Yeah. Okay, never mind. I am so dumb. He went way beforehand. Javonte Williams at the 309. I didn't even see Javonte Williams went there. In our previous drafts, he was actually going in the range of these running backs. So I thought there was a tiny chance that we were actually going to get Javonte Williams. Okay, so here we have Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson, Cooper Kupp, Waddle, all at receiver. At tight end. See, what sucks is after this Andrews and Hawkinson tiers go, it's going to be really hard to get a tight end in this range. Now, I will say, however, that like an Irv Smith Jr., someone that we really liked, now he's no longer available. We do have to be in a spot where maybe we have to push up tight end just slightly. Brandon Ayuk going, that kills us. That kills us. I can't say exactly what we're going to do because obviously we're up in 3 picks and I don't want to get sniped on it. Okay, so out of luck does... I don't want to know if this is an auto with Josh Jacobs. Let me type in the chat real quick, see if he wants to make an adjustment. Of course, if he makes an adjustment, it's only going to be players that are available still on the board. He can't make the adjustment when these guys go right here. Like if he wants an Aaron Rodgers, sucks. You shouldn't have autoed. Now, let's go. I need to really figure out where we're going to go. James Robinson in the 508. I wouldn't have taken Robinson, so we're fine with it. Remember how bad my draft pick was a few streams ago? I believe it was like maybe 2 months ago in a draft. I took Mike Evans over T. Higgins and immediately regretted it. Okay, Devonta Smith off the board. So at this point, I also think that we don't have to place the emphasis on running back. We can continue to go through and build around other positions. We may take someone here that I don't necessarily think that we're going to be rostering for a very long time, but I think that he does have a considerable amount of trade bait, like trade value. You know what? I'm not going to take someone just to trade him. Instead, understanding that this is a win now team, I think that it would potentially be a little bit better if we go out there and get a quarterback. We do not have a stack option available with these current guys available. Zach Wilson is intriguing here. However, I mean, with a Zach Wilson, we can't necessarily go through and draft him when we've already constructed a win now team. So it's going to be down between Stafford and a Ryan Tannehill for us. Now, if we're going to be talking about stacks that we could potentially bring in later on, I actually think that Stafford's going to be a slightly better option there, because here with the Matthew Stafford, we could be finding someone that, I mean, we could be getting a Robert Woods. We could be getting a Cooper Kupp a little later on. So yeah, we are going to pass on the tight end and Noah Fant. With this being a Dynasty Superflex startup, I think that we actually really have to go QB here. We have to go QB. Okay. Now from here, let's move this down just slightly so y'all are going to be able to see the next round. Probably going to have to move my little box down as well. Okay, let me know what y'all think of this Stafford selection. There were a couple other picks that I was considering, but I really think that in a vacuum with the tier drop off that we're probably going to see at quarterback after this, that getting a quarterback here at the 5'10", probably a good play. We're going to have 2 picks in this round here. So with this next selection, I can't talk too much about what we're trying to do, because obviously, I mean, maybe if there's a player that I could consider, they in theory could end up falling to the 6'10". Now, Deshaun Watson going. Love seeing Watson go, simply because, I mean, I'm a little selfish here, and with a win now team, we can't be taking Deshaun Watson, even though in a Superflex league, I mean, that's a fantastic pick. Now, you do have Claypool. So the thing is, do we just take the last, we're going to take the last quarterback in this tier. Yeah, we're going to get 3 QBs on this team, but I think what this is going to do is it gives us such a high floor and a ceiling at the quarterback position, to be honest. And we know that these quarterbacks are going to maintain their value over the long period. So, I mean, running backs here, I don't even say who we would consider. Here are the receivers if anybody wants to check them out. Tight end, Dallas Goedert, Mike Gesicki. Obviously, you're not drafting Irv Smith now. So, yeah, we're going to go with a Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So, keep in mind, this is a Dynasty Superflex league. And so far, we actually have Kyler, Tannehill, Stafford at QB. At running back, we have CMC and Stephon Diggs at receiver. Okay, so we got to go through. We got to find a way to pull this off. We have 2 picks in the 6th. We have 2 picks in the 8th. So hopefully we can bring in some running back. Hopefully we can bring in some wide receiver help. Now, this is why I personally love trading down in startup drafts, and it's been very hard to accomplish a draft where we're trading up like we do. This is why usually I try to stay away from it. But let's just try to see if we can make it work, because I think there will be a lot of receiver. There will be a lot of running back value later on. And it's scary only having 2 receivers and running backs within the first, like, 75 overall picks. But I think it's going to be fine here. I'm not 75 overall picks. I believe we are 64 picks in. If I do some simple math, 5 rounds, 12 picks, that's 60. And then you have 6. Yeah, I think that's 64. I could be wrong. Okay, so now it looks like this team here did end up wanting Josh Jacobs. I didn't see any messages in the chat. Kareem Hunt goes at the 605. Okay, honestly, I wouldn't have considered a Kareem Hunt here either, just because I think we maybe want someone with a little more long-term value. But if we check out what Brad has done so far, at quarterback, he has Lamar and Herbert. At tight end, he has George Kittle. At running back, he has Robinson, Kareem Hunt, and Mike Evans at receiver. So I'm assuming he probably doesn't have that many picks beyond this. Let's go down there and check. I mean, he's missing his 8th. And that's it? That was his price to move up to the first round? He just had to move. That's a reasonable price to move up to that range. I'll say I actually probably like how he set his team up through trade. I don't necessarily know if I like the picks that he's made afterwards. But Noah's back up on the clock. Noah so far at running back. Noah is killing this draft. Noah is absolutely killing this draft. Gets Zach Wilson at quarterback. Wilson could have been a quarterback that we considered possibly over Tannehill, but the problem is obviously we win. I mean, we build to win now. So, oh my gosh. This is a team at running back. It has Clyde Edwards-Helaire. CEH was a fantastic value here as a running back that's a 3-down guy on his rookie contract. He has Swift, the same kind of build. He has Mark Andrews in a tight end premium format. And then he has A.J. Brown at receiver with, that's a fantastic long-term build there. Now, Waddle goes at the 607, and I don't know why I'm showing you all the quarterbacks. My apologies. Let's go through. You got the injured players on top of ADP because Sleeper is horrible with their ADP. I mean, Sleeper is so good for Dynasty in so many different reasons. Like, I don't want to talk down on them. I just don't understand how we don't fix this ADP situation. Like, how is the ADP this poor? Is it literally just because people can go out and they can do some mock drafts? Is that what it is? Like, you can do mock drafts. You don't have to have real money involved. Okay, so Tom Brady goes to the 608. Selfishly, that is fantastic for us. Tom Brady wouldn't have been someone I would have considered, even if we would have passed on Tannehill. I think Brady's a reach here, considering the fact that he's, trust me, guys, I'm actually going to be hopping on the quote-unquote bandwagon. Y'all know I actually just moved to Tampa and I haven't rooted for an NFL team since the Houston Texans back when they had Andre Johnson and Matt Schaub. So it's my first time rooting for an NFL team since like 2014 pretty much. Is probably going to be this year because this is the first year I live in a city where we actually have an NFL team. I'm going to be rooting for Brady. I'm going to be rooting for the Bucs this season because I would love to see the city go crazy. But with that being said, I mean, I can't take Brady there. I mean, I think it's way too much of a short-term type of play. We can't be looking at quarterback here. We literally can't. So at running back, there's one player that intrigues me at receiver. So receiver here, what I think that we're actually going to do is make a selection that I'm not too excited about. Like if you look at my rankings, I'm going to have them further down than this. But I think based on the Dynasty community trade value that I have seen as of late, it's going to be a good value for him. So yeah, I don't love the selection, but the range that we're getting him in, even if we don't love the player, I know that we can actually work some trades and we can probably soak up some more value for him. So we're going to get a Jerry Jeudy here at the 6'10". So we're going to be adding him to a receiver room with Stephon Diggs. We don't even know if we're going to go through and roster Jerry Jeudy that long. I will say that, I mean, I'm not even a massive Jerry Jeudy fan. However, I mean, this is a scenario where we're looking at someone that just has so much more dynasty value than anybody else that you're going to be seeing in this range. So let me go through and let's move down this box so y'all don't have to see my ugly face throughout the rest of this. Let's move that down. So I would rather y'all be able to see the draft board. Okay, so yeah, now we're not going to be able to pick again until the 7-10. Let me know what y'all think of that Jerry Jeudy pick there at the 6'10". I mean, Jerry Jeudy is someone that's going a lot higher than this in underdog drafts, and I know underdog is a little different, but still, I mean, that's a redraft league. Jerry Jeudy is going into his second season. So I don't love it. There's actually another, I have to be quiet. We can't give away everything. There are some other wide receivers that I actually would prefer over a Jerry Jeudy. The thing is, I think that we could actually get them falling to us at the 7-10, and there's a 0% chance that would actually happen with a Jerry Jeudy. And guys, we just passed 50 likes on the live stream. Thank you so much, everybody going down there and dropping that like on the stream. It makes a massive difference. And also, if for whatever reason, guys, of course, supporting the show on Patreon is fantastic. And I encourage anybody to join the flock on Patreon if you enjoy these streams, if you want to get in a league with me. But I know that, I mean, Patreon's like a large commitment from y'all. So you don't hear me talk about it as much considering the fact that it is a large commitment. I'm asking you to make a monthly payment to support the channel. Whereas something that supports the channel almost just as much and you get a ton in return for it is literally just going to the description of the video and depositing $10 on Underdog Fantasy. And when you make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, you get $25 added into your account. They're handing you money to go out there and do fantasy football drafts. They're handing you money to go out there and get into 2021 fantasy football leagues. And on top of this, you get our 2021 draft guide. You get our 2021 Dynasty rookie draft guide. I mean, hundreds of pages of information. That should be worth it on its own. I mean, those draft guides, literally, we could probably be selling them for $80 straight up. And you're getting them for a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. You're getting $25 added into your account. You're getting our rankings and tiers for this upcoming season as well. And you're supporting the channel a ton. So please, please, please make sure you take advantage of that, my dudes. Now, Dillon back on the clock here. Let's see what he has done so far. And yeah, he's gone Rodgers, Joe Burrow. And then he brings in his second receiver in a DJ Chark. I will say with the injury to a DJ Chark, I don't necessarily think we want to be drafting him here, to be honest. I think there's someone else that I would prefer because while I was high on DJ Chark coming into the preseason, I really think that him just missing all of that time with Urban Meyer, with Trevor Lawrence, it has to be negative. We have to be dropping him down. Like when we update our Dynasty rankings, I can guarantee you DJ Chark, he's going to be dropping down. I can guarantee that. So now Cooper Kupp going at the 701. That does kind of suck because it would have been nice to get him at the 710. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is a receiver that you definitely prefer having over a Jerry Jeudy for 2021, but the long-term value, you probably prefer Jeudy. Jayan says, Shade is coming in so clutch. Wi-Fi in the stadium is updated. Okay, so Jayan is at the UT game. My man, I am jealous of you. I am so jealous, my man. Now, Juju at the 704. You know Juju would have been someone we wanted at the 710. That's another player that I thought there was a small chance we actually had him falling back to us. Now, the real question is, on a win-now team, what is the point we can consider Travis Etienne? What is the point that we can consider J.K. Dobbins? I mean, you're probably going to see that point very soon. I'll say that. We'll give out that little sneak peek. W says, LOL, just learned of the second channel. Yeah, I'd imagine that. I mean, we have some people out here that don't necessarily know that we even have a main fantasy football channel. I try to keep them separate. I don't talk about them that much on each other because I just want like the Dynasty community, the redraft community. If you play both, then of course follow both channels. That's fantastic. But I don't want to be going through and just talking about redraft fantasy football on a Dynasty channel. I don't want to be talking Dynasty football on a redraft channel. I definitely want to keep it separate for y'all, just because I don't want y'all have to watch a video and go, is he talking Dynasty? Is he talking redraft here? What's going on? No, I mean, you're going to see the name of the channel. You're going to see exactly where it's on, and you'll just know exactly by that. Now, we also do miss out on our potential to stack a Robert Woods with a Matthew Stafford. So that is pretty sad here. That is pretty sad. Okay, now moving down from here, like if we're looking at quarterbacks, QBs, we're not taking anybody in this range. Yeah, Mac Jones looks like a good value, but we can't be taking Mac Jones when we've already had 3 quarterbacks and we're trying to backfill the position. Running back, I mean, I guess you could look at like a Damian Harris and A.J. Dillon here in this range. Receiver, Julio Jones would complete the stack that we would have with a Ryan Tannehill. I think it's going to be really hard to go through and actually make that selection, though, knowing that we're just drafting someone for his production this upcoming season. Okay, so I can't talk too much about my thought process with the 7-10 until we at least get done here at the 8-10 because, I mean, we have a lot of picks in the upcoming round. So we, of course, want some of these players making it back to us. There are a couple thoughts that I have. So we're probably going to – this could be so bad. This could be so bad. This could easily be my 2021 redraft brain sneaking in. Like if I'm maybe looking back at this next offseason, I'm probably going to be sitting here screaming at myself, Mason, you're an idiot. Mason, why would you ever do that? Akers goes at the 7-10. Honestly, I mean 7-09. Honestly, I wouldn't have Cam Akers here. I think that we prefer Dobbins over Akers considering the severity of Cam Akers' injury. Yes, I had Cam Akers ranked higher before the injury, but Dobbins, I don't think you're having to worry about the same thing that you actually have with the Akers. So here what we're going to do is we're just going to take the receiver that we actually had ranked ahead of Jerry Jeudy to begin with, but we figured there's a decent shot that he made it back to us. I thought he made it back. Yeah, he does. We're going to take Laviska Shenault here at the 7-10. I know that this is going to be seen as a reach by many, but I definitely want to be starting to bring receivers in here when we have to start 3 receivers every week and we have 3 flex spots. And when we have CMC, we really have a win now team here. I mean, we have CMC, CMC, Stephon Diggs, Stafford, and Tannehill all as our win now assets. So I kind of want to take Dobbins, but the problem is, this is what I'm saying. I could be looking at myself just 6 months from now and watching this live stream back and screaming, going, Mason, you're an idiot. You were so short-sighted. And that could easily be the case here. But I think we want production right now. And that's going to come with Laviska Shenault. I think that we actually definitely bump him up over DJ Chark, considering the injury Chark suffered. And I think Laviska is actually going to be at a premium now that Travis Etienne is out as well. Now, if we're going to be going through and talking receivers from here. Okay, so I think that there are a couple of guys that we could actually consider. Quarterback, I mean, we already have 3 guys. We're not going to consider a QB. Running back, Dobbins is intriguing. I think at tight end at this point, I'm honestly probably just going to be sitting out of the position. I'm probably going to be waiting for a long time. Like, I think that whenever you have like the Noah Fant going off at the 5'11", it just looks like this room at tight end is going to be a little more aggressive than I will. Now, we do have to acknowledge the fact that you have a lot of the tight ends bunched around the teams that are drafting next to us. So we are going to be at risk if we pass on a tight end at the 803, that we could actually see a lot of time. We could see a tight end run happening here at the end of the 8th, at the beginning of the 9th. That's not going to surprise me whatsoever, to be honest. Joey says, what do you think of my team? Joey Kopp, I'm going for a win now. Let's go through and let's check out Joey's team real quick. Let me get my pick in real quick, my man. Okay. So, God, this is where it's hard to bounce back and forth between 2021 and Dynasty. It's so hard to bounce back and forth. Cousins goes to the 801. Honestly, selfishly like to see that. Gus Edwards is still available. I don't want to give away too much here, but J.K. Dobbins goes to the 803. I probably would have just taken Dobbins at the 802. I probably would have taken Dobbins at the 803 if he would have fallen. From here, I'm probably going to make a selection that doesn't necessarily fit our build. But to be honest, I think that it's just too good a value to maybe pass up on. It's too good a value to pass up on, so we're going to go with Elijah Moore here. We're going to Elijah Moore at the 803. Let me go through and show you all this draft board so far. Okay, so we have at receiver Diggs, Judy, Shenault, and Elijah Moore starting to build up this receiver core. And then at quarterback, we have probably the best quarterback room in the entire league, Kyler, Stafford, Tannehill, and we have Christian McCaffrey as well, locking it down at running back. Not in love with this start. I will acknowledge that. We're not in love with this start. Now you have Michael Carter at the 804. Yeah, we love seeing Michael Carter go. That's not someone I would have considered at the 810. Now let's go through and let's check out, I believe we were checking out Joey's team. Okay, so now we're looking for Joey. Where was he drafting one more time? Okay, so he's drafting at the 112. He made some plays to trade. Oh my God. What was the price point to trade up to the 109? Okay, so if you're going with the win now build, I've already talked on length why I don't necessarily prefer the Dalvin Cook selection. I think that if we're going to go with the win now build, I probably would rather just use that 109, trade it back and get some extra picks in the 4th round here. I mean, you could reasonably trade the 109 and get 2 4th-round picks. That's not surprising at all with the dynasty trade value that you see. So, I mean, I would definitely prefer, if you're going to be planning on trading up to the 1st round, can't be planning on getting a Dalvin Cook here. Instead, I do prefer just getting, I mean, you could get Ezekiel Elliott and then another significant receiver. You could get Zeke and Aaron Jones. So I do prefer having that over Dalvin. I like this turn here. Probably do prefer Harris over Kamara, but I'm not going to be crying too much about it. Then Eckler at the 409. If you're going win now, love it. And then if you're going win now, I mean, Allen Robinson at the 501. Obviously, that's good value. I would probably slightly prefer someone like a DJ Moore, a Brandon Ayuk, but it's good value if you're going to go win now. And then also Deontay Johnson at the 612. I'm fine with Deontay Johnson at the 612. Cooper Kupp at the 701. If you're going win now, completely fine with Cooper Kupp there. And then Juju Smith-Schuster at the 704. You know I like Juju. I'm just trying to think out loud here. If you're going with the win now build, would a Tyler Lockett or Robert Woods maybe be a little better? I know you're kind of punting a little bit of the long-term value that you would see, and maybe we're overthinking it for that reason. But yeah, now you have a little bit more of a wide receiver run happening, and let's pull this back up because we're going to be looking at grabbing a receiver here at the 810. Okay, so out of luck gets Mac Jones, and he's right back in. I mean, I have no idea what's going on there. But let's... Okay, so Rondale Moore goes. I don't even think we really want to... Yeah, these running backs, I know a lot of people probably want us to go with the Damian Harris. Instead, knowing that we can start 6 receivers every single week here, I think we're going to continue to draft the receiver position. We're going to take another pick that may not necessarily fit with our exact build, but I think the value is going to be a little too much to pass up on. Unless we wanted to grab a tight end. I mean, if we were going to grab a tight end, the problem is a lot of these guys are in the same exact tier for me. Like, do I really want to reach on a Logan Thomas here? Logan Thomas, 30 years old. I mean, if we pull this up, yeah, you see Logan Thomas, he's 30. And yeah, Logan Thomas would be the highest guy for 2021. Okay, so Michael Thomas goes to the 809. Honestly, I really like the Michael Thomas selection. I think that's a pretty good selection on Michael Thomas. So the real question here is, I know Julio Jones makes the most sense if we're trying to win now right away. But we also have to just put in question, like, we're not going to be picking again for a very long time. We do need some long-term value with this team. So maybe this is a mistake that I'm making in trying to go through and create more of a balanced team rather than pushing all in to win now or all in for the future. And we know that usually is the best way to go about it. But I'm really thinking that, honestly, Bateman's just the right call here. Yeah, we're just going to draft Rashad Bateman at the 810. I think that you're getting a discount, obviously, due to the injury, but this is a dynasty. Maybe we don't necessarily need to think about the injury that much. So let's take Bateman, and we're not going to be drafting in the 9th. So yeah, we have to wait until the 10th round for another selection. But so far, this is a league where you can start 6 receivers, so I definitely want to be focusing in on building up our receiver room. And here we have Kyler, Stafford, Tannehill at QB. At running back, we have Christian McCaffrey. And then at receiver, we have Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy, Laviska Shenault, Elijah Moore, and Rashad Bateman. So neither Elijah Moore or Rashad Bateman fit our team build that much. Maybe what we should have done is gone with the Michael Thomas over an Elijah Moore at the 803. I could 100% be talked into that possibly being the correct decision. Then you have a Deebo Samuel at the 811. Y'all know I'm not I'm not a massive fan of Deebo Samuel. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to go out there and draft Deebo. A.J. Dillon goes at the 8-12. I mean, Dillon definitely rising in Dynasty, rising in 2021 redraft. He is just someone that a lot of people are getting excited about for the right reason. And remember, if you were a member of the flock last year, you have A.J. Dillon on almost every single Dynasty roster because we were screaming to go out there and buy him when he was worth a third. We were screaming to trade your third round pick, and a ton of people, a part of the flock, did it. I have A.J. Dillon on a ton of my Dynasty teams. We did sell him in a couple spots. Remember the hype that we actually had at the beginning of this offseason? I mean, when we actually had the news, the quote-unquote news from the fantasy football community, oh my God, Aaron Jones, he's up for a contract extension. Yes, of course, we all knew Aaron Jones was an unrestricted free agent. And people finally woken up and realized, so we were actually able to sell Dillon for some first-round picks. But now if you're getting him at the 8-12, that's fantastic value. And I'll say, I don't know if y'all had the same feeling. This is obviously not a strategy standpoint or anything. But I don't know if it's because like fantasy football, Dynasty fantasy football, they're my entire life. But I mean, going back and like thinking about specific times like that, thinking about whenever we were able to like sell Dillon for a first round pick, it immediately makes me like jump to a certain point in my life, knowing exactly when that was, like what I was doing when that happened. Like all of a sudden, I like remember like being in a specific area in Austin, like walking the dog and just thinking about how it was crazy with the A.J. Dillon value and what was happening with what we were going to do with it. And it's just crazy. Like I feel like my life is literally broken up by just different fantasy football news points and what it meant for what we were actually doing at certain times. You have Girthquake going with a Terrace Marshall at the 903 as his second receiver. Okay, so he went through, and yeah, he had a really good start with this draft, but I mean, I think with overall trades, now that we're actually looking at this a little closer, Noah, my man, I think you messed up on some trades here. I love the players that you got at certain selections. I didn't look close enough with it on what you actually had later on in the draft. But yeah, Noah, I do not like what we ended up having here. I don't know if you made a trade. I know you texted me that you ended up messing up a trade. I don't know. I didn't see the exact details of it, but definitely I agree with you on that one. I don't know exactly what trade you messed up, but that does not look like an overall nice draft pick haul. Mike says Dillon went from a buy to a sell back to a buy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Casey says, yo, Mason, you should make a video reviewing your picks from last year. I think I already did that. In Dynasty Fantasy Football, I think that I actually did that at like the beginning of the offseason. I'm almost certain I went through and reviewed some rookie drafts that I did. Okay, so now Kenny Golladay goes to the 904. Golladay was the best receiver according to ADP for a very long time now. I keep in mind, this isn't Underdog Fantasy where I will say, I mean, even though we have that fantastic partnership with the Underdog Fantasy and you need to use promo code FLOCK and Underdog Fantasy, just everything pushed to the side, push the partnership to the side. I mean, one nice thing about Underdog Fantasy is the ADP gets updated and the ADP stays extremely relevant because how many real money drafts they have going every single week. And I don't know the algorithm that they have to like quickly push the injured players down the ADP and keep it up to date with exactly what's happening. But that ADP is so good. Like Sleeper needs to find a way to hack into the Underdog system and steal what they have for their ADP setup. I think, let me know what your opinion is. Do you think the Sleeper ADP is so bad just because it's like you can do mock drafts and maybe there are a lot of like 16-year-old kids doing it? I'd be surprised if there are that many 16-year-old kids like doing Dynasty mock drafts though. I figure like Dynasty is an old man's game. And Curtis Samuel at the 906. Completely fine with that Curtis Samuel value. And yeah, we're not going to be back up until the 1003. So let's scroll this down just slightly so y'all can see what we're looking at. I'll move this over here. Myles Gaskin at the 905. I'll say, I think you have to go Damian Harris over Myles Gaskin at this point, no? And I'm not even a massive fan of Damian Harris. I think you honestly kind of have to. You have Robbie Anderson, and my God, Robbie Anderson looks like an alien with his profile pic. I mean, it probably doesn't look that crazy like you zoom up on it, but from far away, like the Robbie Anderson alien pic looks wild. Okay, so now let's go through and see what we have after this. Okay, Andrew's going to be up. Let's check out Andrew. Andrew has been trying to get into one of these Dynasty drafts all season now. Excited that he was able to get in. He made some trades here where he ended up moving to the 102. So he starts this draft off with Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley. Then he has Hawkinson, T. Higgins. So a very balanced start here. And then he gets a Baker as a second quarterback. It's Rondell Moore, Curtis Samuel. I'll say I didn't see the exact details of the trade that he actually had him move up to the second round. But I mean, based on the the second pick, based on the end result here, it was probably a hefty price. I mean, yeah, I do not like what we actually, I like the Damian Harris pick. Like, I like the selections that were made at each pick. But in terms of the price to move up to get Josh Allen, I think maybe that's a little too rich for us. Like, what did Flock end up, my dude, end up with? He ends up with an extra second round pick. He ends up with 2 extra 8s. So yeah, so essentially he traded his 102 at the end of the day for a second, an 8th, and an 8th. Interesting. Like, who made out as a bandit with all these trades happening? Okay, I think it was Swizzy here. It looks like Swizzy is the one who dominated the draft with trades. I mean, he has 3 picks in the third round. He has an extra pick in the 5th. I mean, that's not even that crazy. No, never mind. Dillon's the guy who made out like a bandit. Dillon's the guy who, I guess, he's the one who traded with Noah, and Noah said he ended up not liking his trade. So yeah, I think Dillon came out and completely dominated whatever trade he made with Noah was. I mean, that is a crazy deal. That is a crazy. So he gets an extra 4th, an extra 5th, and an extra 7th by pretty much just giving up his 3rd and 6th and moving back in the draft. Okay, so Dillon's the guy who ended up making out with some pretty good trades. Moogly says, I think Sleeper uses too large of an ADP range from the draft data. They need to update it more to focus on the recent drafts. I think that's probably exactly what's happening as well, because that's what I was saying. Like, underdogs are really good about, like, you'll see, like, with an injury, that data is actually updated very quickly. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to be having again. I guess we could honestly start to consider quarterbacks here. I mean, just knowing that, yeah, we already have 3 of them, but we can use them as trade bait. And at the end of the day, I mean, getting like a Wentz, Matt Ryan here, I think that is pretty damn good value. Now, running back, honestly, I'm not drafting a running back here. It is what it is. If I was going to go with another position, it would most likely be a receiver. There are some receivers that I'm intrigued with. Yeah, we're probably going to make a pick at receiver that a lot of people are going to scream at us for. Tight end could be, actually, maybe tight end's the play. We're in the 10th round now, so I actually think that we're probably going to go with the tight end. There is a receiver that I'm slightly interested with, but I think when we get like a Logan Thomas falling to us here, I know Logan Thomas is 30. You know what? No, actually, we're going to take Tyler Higby. Tyler Higby does give us the stack with a Stafford. I know that this is supposedly a massive reach. In reality, I don't think it's that much of a reach to make. And what would have probably been smart is if I understood how far he was down the ADP instead of bringing up his name on the live stream right now, just getting him in the 11th round instead. But the problem is I brought up his name, so there's a 0% chance he makes it back to us. So we're going to get Tyler Higby. This is a tight end premium format. I hated Tyler Higby last year in drafts, but now, I mean, this is about a spot where maybe we should have gone with our receiver. Maybe we should have gone with the receiver. Let me know what you are thinking about that, but we are going to get a stack in here with Stafford, and I think that based on the fall off that we're about to actually see at some other positions, I'd imagine that we get a lot of tight ends going off the board here at the end of the 10th, the beginning of the 11th, because you also have to look at the fact that we have multiple teams. Like Dillon doesn't have a tight end. Actually, let me double check. Okay, so Dillon doesn't have a tight end. You have out of luck with only Dallas Goedert. Okay, and you have a Joey with no tight end either. Okay, Joey has... I love the Julio Jones selection for Joey there. I think that Julio Jones was good value, and at the same time, he is building a win-now team. Yeah, I think the pick we should have made is Adam Thielen. I think that we should have either gone Thielen, we should have gone Corey Davis, and we should have maybe waited another round on tight end. That could have been a massive mistake for us, to be honest. Sam Darnold at the 10:06. And, oh, guys, I did not see we are going to be live with this draft for the next 3 minutes, and then we are going to go through and we are going to end this live stream. So thank you, everybody, for coming out to this stream with us. And I know this isn't as long as the streams that we do during the offseason for the Dynasty channel, but I'm going to be live streaming for like 3 or 4 hours on the main fantasy football channel tonight with underdog drafts. So, of course, guys, make sure you go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you make that $10 deposit, $25 added to your account. Get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, get our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, get our rankings, get our tiers, get all of that, and you can come out on the main Fantasy Football channel with us tonight, hop in a live stream, get in a draft, because we're going to do drafts every single night until the season starts. So I'm excited to do that. I apologize that we're not going to be streaming later than we're currently doing. But also, guys, if for whatever reason you're not subscribed to the channel, you need to go down there, subscribe. And I think that may be it. Of course, if you want a Dynasty team breakdown, you can find that over there on Patreon. And outside of that, let's just wait another 90 seconds or so until we can see what's happening at the end of this round. And then it will be 4 p.m. and we are going to end this draft. It's going to switch over to a slow draft. It's going to switch over to a slow draft with an 8-hour timer. That way we can go through and allow everybody else, they have something to do on a Saturday. They can go through and they can take care of their family. They can go do something fun. They can watch some college football. Okay. But Winston at the 10:08. I guess, like, at this point, is Winston really someone you're taking over Carson Wentz? I mean, I'm sure y'all remember how much I was screaming that Carson Wentz was getting overdrafted earlier this offseason. But I feel like I'm a crazy person now. Carson Wentz has an injury and he should be back by week 1. And all of a sudden, I mean, he's going behind Jameis Winston. Like, I feel like I am a straight up crazy person. I think that we honestly do probably prefer Wentz there. Now, Zack Moss at the 10:09, someone that I surprisingly have in a lot of leagues. I was not expecting to draft Zack Moss that often in 2021, but we have him in a lot of leagues, at least over there on Underdog Fantasy. I don't have him that much in Dynasty, however, but I'm hoping for a good season for Zack Moss. That would be good for the Fantasy Vlog Network, LLC, I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all, my dudes. Thank you so much for coming out to the live stream. Thank you for hanging out in the chat with me. And I'm going to be going through and live streaming tonight on the main Fantasy Football channel. So make sure you go over there. Make sure you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. That way you can get in a draft with us. And that's all I got for you, my dudes.